Welcome back to GreenVille, the show where I talk about sustainability, climate change, and whatever else comes up. I'm Gage. This is episode 2. Thanks for stopping in. This is actually the second time I've sat down to record this. The first time I got all the way done, I sat down to go edit, and my sound settings were off, so you couldn't hear a goddamn thing I was saying. So I'm chilling, having a great time. So first thing I wanted to talk about, Greenpeace. They're a climate organization. They do a lot of cool stuff. You should check them out. They just released an update to a report they did like 2 years ago called Circular Claims Fall Flat Again, which, first off, dunked on them. Sick. Love that name. So not only is it a circular claim, but they fell flat not once, twice. Again. Dunked on them. Baller move on Greenpeace's part, so big ups to those guys. But basically what it is it's an update to a climate report that they published in 2020, and the premise is plastic recycling doesn't work. So I read it so that you don't have to read through the whole thing because it's pretty long. Here's some of the specific things I learned from that report. The vast majority of plastic is not able to be recycled at all, like period. So that's not ideal. That's very much not what they've been saying this whole time. For the last couple of decades, they've been really pushing recycling. They usually leave out that part, that you actually can't recycle like most plastic. Not some, most. So there's 10, 11, 12, something like that, different types of plastic, and 2 of those can be recycled. So sick. And also, you know that logo that you'll see all the time? It's 3 arrows chasing each other. You know the one? It's on a lot of plastic bottles, packages, stuff like that. Doesn't mean recyclable. All that is it indicates which category of plastic it is. Like I said, there's a bunch of them. So misleading there. And it is misleading on purpose. Big oil and big plastic have been trying to make you feel better about using their product. So they stuck that little symbol on there to be like, hey, look, it's not that bad. And that, folks, is what we call greenwashing. If you're unfamiliar with that concept, it's basically making false claims of sustainability in order to boost sales. One super common way that companies will greenwash is just literally painting the product or the packaging green. Now you're thinking, hey, that's stupid. That wouldn't work. Hey, it does. It does. It's super common on cleaning products. In the grocery store, you'll notice a lot of the ones that claim to be natural will be green, tan, brown, an earth tone of some kind, and then they'll say natural or organic or whatever, but in reality it's the same product, same packaging, just different colors. Another good example of that is products that will come in plastic free packaging, or that will come in paper, cardboard, when in reality they are not only not compostable, but a lot of them have plastic in them, which low-key fucked up. So actually just the other day I bought some deodorant that was plastic free, compostable, whatever, and the outside was like a paper tube or whatever. You know what was inside? The part that made it go through the tube, plastic. So defeats the whole purpose, you know? Don't lie to me. Don't act like I'm dumb, okay? I know what you are. Don't lie. Stop lying. Anyways, so that's greenwashing. So another problem with there being so many categories of plastic and only some of them being recyclable is you have to sort them. How are you going to do that? There are no easy ways, cheap ways, simple ways to do that. So a lot of times they just don't, and they just burn it all, which again, tight. Literally no transparency there. So a ton of plastic ends up being incinerated in the US, which obviously ends up putting a ton of CO2 into the atmosphere. Horrible for the environment. Not good. But let's say that you did find a way to sort it efficiently and you had the recyclable plastic separated from the non-recyclable plastic, right? So with that recyclable plastic, the processes that they use to recycle those plastics are very energy intensive, and they create toxic byproducts that are bad for the environment. So you are actively doing more harm to the environment by recycling that plastic than you are helping, which fucked up. I know, it doesn't make any sense, completely backwards. Why has recycling been this thing that they've been pushing on us for decades? Money, because big plastic and big oil want you to keep buying plastic, because they want you to think that you can recycle it and keep whatever. You can't. It doesn't. It's not like metal. It's not like glass where you can recycle pretty much infinitely. It's almost impossible to recycle most plastics, and the plastics you can recycle do active harm to the environment. So recycling is not the answer. Recycling is not going to save us. Now, this, of course, only applies to plastic. Like I said, glass, metal, all that, its own stuff. Paper. But plastic, recycling, not the answer. So what is? Reuse. Obviously, try not to buy any plastic. Try not to buy any products with single-use wrapping, packaging. Whatever plastic you have on hand already, do your best to reuse that. That's kind of like that's kind of the best possible solution at this point, is to just reuse and get the most use out of anything you already have on hand. It's just like Mitchell Musso said in that one song. Y'all remember that one song? Reduce, reuse, recycle. Reduce, reuse, recycle. Remember that? Do it in that order. Reduce your consumption. Reuse what you have, then recycle. Mitchell low-key went off with that. Low-key popped off. Shout out Mitchell Musso, a real one. Moving on, another thing that came to my attention again this week, the system was designed to fail. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me explain some things. So I was looking at a projection for like who will suffer the most, communities that will suffer the most in the coming decades due to climate-related problems. Do you know who's projected to suffer the most? Black and brown communities. Of course, right? Because that makes sense, doesn't it? One of the reasons for that is consistently the neighborhoods that have the least amount of trees, shade, mostly pavement, asphalt, are black communities, brown communities. And the reason for that is a lot of those neighborhoods are areas that were previously designated as non-white areas. Like that's kind of where all those areas are where minorities were shoved during segregation, Jim Crow, particularly black folks. And that's just kind of where they've grown up and their communities were rooted. And that's why there are some areas of the US that are predominantly black and some that are predominantly white. Goes all the way back to segregation, right? So obviously they got way less attention and care and got kind of the short end of the stick when it came to neighborhoods. And so which areas do you think are going to get hotter faster? The well-planned areas with lots of trees and grass and shade, or the asphalt desert? The asphalt desert. So there will be disproportionate suffering in the coming years. And I can tell you already that until it becomes a problem for the rich white Americans, it won't be talked about in a serious manner, because historically these communities have not been cared for in the same way. It all goes back to racism. I know it happens all the time. That's just how it goes. I don't make the rules. It's all connected. So the system that was designed to keep minorities down is the same system that's going to lead to their disproportionate suffering in the future, right? It's crazy to me how minorities can talk about their experience with injustice, inequality, hate, pain, and be met with disbelief, be met with invalidation. In the same way that if you were talking to somebody who can't see, and you describe to them what a tree looks like, they can't tell you, hey, you're wrong, because that doesn't make any sense, right? You are the one who can see through your eyes. You are the one who knows what it's like to be you. In the same way, they can't know what it's like to be them. Does that make sense? Under no circumstance. They can learn about, listen, try their best to comprehend, but they will never understand fully what that's like. And yet you still have people telling those minorities what they experience, telling them what they experience, telling them that they are wrong about their own experiences, about their own injustice, about their own pain. Fucked up, I know. Part of this system that was designed to fail. That's what I'm talking about. Those in power want to remain in power, right? It's always been that way. That's why if you ever look at anything in the world, anything in this system, and think, why is that the way it is? That's why. Those in power want to stay in power. Those with money want to get more money. That's just how it goes. So what do you do with the broken system? Build a new one. Who's to say that we have to stay in this system? Who's to say that we have to keep doing things like we've been doing things? There comes a point where something is broken beyond repair. It's just like a car that's totaled. You can keep putting these Band-Aid fixes on it and hoping that we're gonna last a few more miles, a few more decades, but long term, not gonna fly. We just gotta start over. Now that can sound kind of scary and it's gonna be pretty hard. Just like a car, I couldn't build one by myself. No way, I am not that guy. It's going to take all of us, a lot of people, a lot of time, a lot of education, a lot of work. But I think it can be done. Because if there's one thing I cannot stand, it's a doomer. And I see that all the time when it comes to especially like climate issues and, systemic issues. People saying we're too far gone, world's ending, it's game over. Hey, shut up. Hey, shut up. Okay? That's not productive. You're not helping anybody. Who are you helping? Now, there's a difference between climate anxiety and feeling anxious and sad about the way it is, because that's completely justified. It's fucked up. Everything's horrible. But resigning yourself to just doing nothing about it is ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, I know I keep going back to this car thing, but it's like we're in the car, all of us were in the same car, and it broke down, and some of y'all are just like, well, I guess I'm going to die in this car then. Hey, no. What's wrong? What are you talking about? Get up. Stand up. Stand up. Get out the car. Let's figure it out together. Anyways, all hope is not lost. I've been talking for too long. Thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you. Come back next Friday and every Friday after that. I'll be here. It'll be great. All right. I'm out.